How do we fight burnout in a productive workspace? This is transformative. Making technology human. Transformative. The productivity revolution. Hello, welcome to Transformative, a coffee break podcast about transforming your workplace and making technology feel a little more human. Welcome back to my home office. I'm Sam Glover. Interviewing with me, as always, is Kai O'Main. And in this series, we're talking about the productivity revolution, breaking down what is required to build a physical and digital workspace for a modern workforce. This week's episode, all about burnout. So listen to the episode as we talk about how automation can help solve workplace burnout. In a recent survey from Microsoft found that 38% of workers are exhausted and close to burnout. This week, we've gone international. We speak to a tech expert from San Francisco to find out if automation is the solution. Spoiler, it is. See, joining us around the table to discuss this is Rajesh Radhakrishnan from Automation Anywhere and our own Kim Baxter, People Operations Manager here at boxxe. By the way, stick around to the end for an exciting insight about the relationship between people and bots in the workspace from Kim. I did not expect hearing it, and I found it absolutely fascinating. And you can also find out more about the productivity revolution over on our website. So if you follow the link in the description, you'll find out more about how you can automate your workplace. But for now, let's get to it and join our conversation with Raj and Kim. Let's go. Today, we've got two fabulous new guests joining us. We have Kim and Rajesh. And just give quick introductions. So Rajesh, where are you from?
So Rajesh Radhakrishnan, I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I lead digital transformation for Automation Anywhere. So responsible for their new emerging business units on intelligent automation and on front office. Excited to be here, guys.
Excellent. And also joining us is Kim from boxxe.
Thank you for having me as well. So I am boxxe's People Operations Manager. So I kind of manage the day-to-day generalist HR function at boxxe, if you like. I'm a little bit more local. I live in Wakefield, so I'm quite local to our head office. So yeah, that's me.
Excellent. And we've got these two, and me and Kai have got these two for two fantastic episodes, and we'll get straight into the first one. Kai, what's the topic today?
Absolutely. So episode 5 is all about how do we keep the digital workspace productive. One we've been looking forward to for a long time. I think it feels particularly topical at the moment just because a lot of us are coming fresh off the back of Mental Health Awareness Week. But it's about how do we keep the digital workplace productive? So the first question with that, I'm going to kind of break down into a couple of parts, so you have to bear with me for a second. But the opening question we have is, are we more productive now that time isn't taken up in the office with things like hallway chats or birthday cake breakouts? Or are we less productive because of the way we're working at the moment and how much we're connecting with people virtually? So we're having death by Teams chat or death by Teams call. Is that taking up all of our time? And I guess fresh off the back of, again, Mental Health Awareness Week and the challenges that some people might be facing given lockdown easing and things opening up and people kind of rediscovering work in a way. I guess the question is, what does kind of productivity mean to the workforce and to the business today? That was kind of part one. Part two, I'm just going to back up that question with some context. So Microsoft recently published a report about digital intensity. Now, off the back of this survey, which of about 31,000 workers globally, they released some stats around how people are using Microsoft 365. So what they're finding is workers are spending on average 2.5 more times in video calls this year than they were in 2020. We're sending 3 billion more emails per month than we were the same time last year. And things like the average virtual call is about 10 minutes longer than it was in 2010. And the impact of that, sadly, is that 54% of the workforce reported feeling overwhelmed, 38% reported feeling exhausted. So there's a lot happening at the moment and people are thinking about work a lot. So I guess given that context and circling back to that opening question, Are we more productive now that we're working remotely, or does the way that we're working need to change? Now, Rajesh, I wonder if you wanted to kind of kick off your thoughts with it based on some conversations you've been having recently.
Yeah, absolutely, Kai. So I think this Microsoft survey is really spot on. I can really attest that of those 3 billion emails, I get 1 billion of those additional now than I did before. So I'm sure they're right about this. Seriously, though, I think productivity is kind of interesting. I think some aspects of our job have gotten more productive and some aspects of our job have become less productive. Mm-hmm. I do find that not having to take the commute to work and the commute back is definitely a good thing. The fact that, I can take those 10 minutes in the middle of the day and check on things at home that otherwise would not have gotten done. Mm. I think those kinds of things are definitely, making us more productive. But the lack of, human connection is definitely a challenge. Mm. I really miss my whiteboard. I would get up in the middle of meetings all the time and start drawing on a whiteboard just to explain a concept. And there is no good answer in the digital world, unfortunately. And my PowerPoint skills are just not quite at the level at which my whiteboard skills are. So I feel like the productivity from that perspective, that some of that innovation that we would have seen otherwise, some of that has definitely been impacted. That human connection and human touch, there are new team members that have joined during the course of the year that have not even met physically yet. And that makes it a little difficult. So I think we have become more productive in some aspects, just kind of balancing home and life and doing certain things a little bit faster. But I think we're losing in terms of some of the innovation, the human touch, the human connectivity. And I'm really looking forward to the lockdowns ending. They're ending in some parts of the world, certainly, not everywhere, unfortunately. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah. But I have to say, I tend to agree with Rajesh there. And I think that's a really, really not surprising results from that survey, I have to say. And bear in mind, I kind of, with the nature of my role, interact with people day in, day out and have done since the beginning of lockdown. And it's interesting. I think that by default, people have, generally speaking, become more productive in terms of time. So that what may have been a 2.5 hour commute is now kind of extinct. And those hallway chats that should be 5 minutes but go on for half an hour or an hour are also kind of gone. But I also think the kind of the counter to that is that sometimes that organic flow of conversation in the office reduces the need for that Teams meeting to ask one question that then extends and goes on for longer than it should. So I think that we have all studies point to that we have been more productive as a workforce. But lockdown is coming to an end in the UK. And I do think that we're going to see another change. We're going into another kind of transition period, and I wonder what effect that will have on productivity, given that during lockdown, people were not able to, go and play tennis on an evening if that's what you do, or go on a bike ride or whatever. So I think that we're going to see another change actually, and I think we need to be careful. That level of productivity that we saw kind of spike is not necessarily sustainable either. And I think that we're seeing a lot of instances of burnout with people where they've just kind of every spare minute has been taken up working, and that is now taking its toll. And people those lines are very blurred between knowing when to stop and when to start.
Absolutely.
Tim, I'm curious. Do you think it's a conspiracy that they've timed the end of lockdown with the start of summer vacations?
Could well be. although I have to say, in the UK, there's still a big question mark over whether we actually can go on vacation or not at this moment in time. But actually, Rajesh, I think in terms of annual leave, last year people were not taking annual leave, so therefore they had an extra 2-3 weeks in work that they would have otherwise taken, that's kind of rolled over to this year. And it's almost as though we have to encourage people to take time off now, and that's actually quite unhealthy. That's actually quite dangerous. So I think last year was an abnormal year, and so yeah, I'm on the fence with what happens next a little bit.
So to ask with the terms of like burnout, is there anything it help? Do you think things like, so there are digital tools, things like bots and automation that can actually help people maintain the same level of productivity and remove the burnout factor? And like Rajesh, what you're not, I can see you're nodding your head very enthusiastically.
No, absolutely. I think really what you want to do is to take the bot out of the human, so humans can really be more human in some sense, right? I mean, bots can't do most things that humans can do, but bots can do some things that humans can do very, very well. And you don't want humans doing those things. When you have the same repetitive task, when you have to put in the same information in 5 systems, that's the kind of stuff that really grates on human beings and, makes us feel, like we're not being successful, makes us feel like we're wasting our time and not doing things efficiently. And that you want bots to take care of. So you want to fill in information once and the bot fills it into all systems automatically. If you need to get a piece of information, it gets it automatically from multiple systems. If you've got a row of 1,000 on a spreadsheet and you need to enter that into Salesforce or SAP, a bot does all that for you. But you need to make a decision, or you have something more complex. That's something you want to give to the human being, and you say, let me give you all the data. Let me even maybe suggest a potential decision for you, but you need to make the call, because that empathy factor that a human has, at the end of the day, they're the ones who can make it. So ideally, you want to collate all the data and say, this person should get a loan extension because of all these factors. But you leave the human to make that last final judgment based on empathy and say, is that right or is that not right? Let me take all the other factors into account. So I think, once you organize it that way, hopefully humans feel a lot more productive. They're able to concentrate on what they do best. And bots are really able to take the mundane out of their job.
Absolutely. Kim, I'm quite curious. Now, very recently, you and the people team at boxxe ran a fantastic series of activities as part of Mental Health Awareness Week. And a lot of them that I loved seeing in my diary were kind of talking times, booking times, let's have a chat, kind of sit down, have a coffee, tell us what's going on. I'm quite curious, based on some of those conversations, obviously you won't be able to go into any specific details about people, but what did you get a sense of what the kind of tasks or parts of work at the moment might have been that kind of were affecting people or maybe edging people slightly closer to burnout? Was that kind of coming through in the conversations you were having?
Yeah, and I wonder if as a direct result of the spike in productivity last year, people's work what's the term has completely left me. The size of people's workload, if you like, has kind of increased with that, off the back of that, and therefore now people are finding themselves in a situation where actually now they've got heaps of leave to take, and they feel that they have too much work to take that leave, or they have too much work to even attend these sessions that are there exactly for that reason, to try and remind people to take care of yourselves, to take time to talk to other people and connect to people. And there's never been more of a a human element needed in the management of people and where HR is concerned. So it is interesting that we're speaking to people now, and they're kind of feeling the effects of what are also seen as the benefits of things that happened work-wise last year. And those are coming into play now. But definitely, it always surprises me. And I guess just again, the nature of my work, I have the pleasure of speaking to people all day long, every day. But people who don't have that experience, that 20 minutes permission to take that time out of work to speak to another human being is really precious to them. And so, I think that connection piece comes back into play there. Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And Rajesh, is that something you're seeing more in the types of digital transformations that companies are looking for? Is well-being informing digital transformation at the moment for companies? And is that kind of why they're looking to automation?
Yeah, I think it is very much, Kai. I think, employee satisfaction, employee engagement is becoming, a very, very big thing. I think it always was, but I think during this pandemic, it has become even more critical where, as Kim said, we've been imposing a lot on our teams. We're asking them to take on more and more burdens. It's become more complicated to do certain kinds of work. And, at the end of the day, humans are the ones that are, stretching for that last mile and making it happen. So I think, this digital transformation of giving employee engagement and making sure that as employees engage with each other, with other systems, it's as simple as possible. So I think people are getting a little frustrated, to be honest with you, when they on one side have these consumer applications like a LinkedIn or a Facebook, which are so simple and easy to use, and then they turn into the workforce and they find these really complex applications they got to deal with, and they don't understand how to make it work. And previously, what you could do is just kind of tap your colleague on the shoulder who is sitting next to you and say, hey, how does this work? And now it's so complicated. I got to call somebody on Teams, or I got to reach out to someone else, and I got to look like an idiot to say, I don't know how to put a leave application into Workday. What do I do? Right. So I think, just having a simple interface, providing this engagement layer so that employees find it easy to navigate systems, I think is going to go a very long way. And I think this is something that's here to stay, because especially as the newer generation comes into the workforce, their expectation of what they want to see is just very, very different out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. And I suppose, like, as a final thought for everyone on this is like, so if we had a fully like automated or fully digital workspace, would that be like a more productive than a physical one, and would it be much better for everyone's mental health? Like Kim go first, looks like she's eager.
Yeah, go for it.
The question on everybody's lips, I guess, isn't it, really? I think potentially yes. And there's no kind of U-turning out of the new work situation that we're in. We've accelerated kind of 10 years in a year, and companies are having to become more digitally fluent, if you like. However, I think that companies need to get in front of communications, the communication strategy, their employee well-being and engagement. As Rajesh said, that's a major factor that I think will be the difference between whether a workforce remains productive at this increased level or they don't. And then really kind of, I guess, really human, empathetic leadership, because it's never been more important because we're all now working in a lot of us are now working in our homes. There's this, again, blurred line between work and personal life, and suddenly you have to take note of people's personal circumstances and situations. And also, if you want to get the best from your teams and the most productivity and the most engagement, it's about understanding the motivations of individuals and what makes them tick, rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. And unfortunately, you don't have that luxury of being in the same physical room as your team. Your team, geographically, they're everywhere. So there's lots of different factors to take into account. I think that when it comes to automation and bots and how they kind of come into play within HR, I think they have their place. And if they can remove those kind of mundane, non-value adding tasks, if you like, then amazing, because that gives HR professionals the time that they need to really focus on getting the other pieces right that they might otherwise not do. And just on a final note there, relating back to mental health. So we recently automated, so when somebody is off sick, our system now automatically kicks out that self-certification form for people to fill out. It's no longer sent by a human. It's no longer sent by me or anybody in the team. And the feedback that we've had is that people feel more comfortable. People feel more comfortable being honest about being absent from work through mental health, for mental health reasons, than they did should they have had to send that form back to a human being. So that's really interesting in that enriches our data, for one. And I think it's very interesting in that in what role kind of, digitization and bots play in the future of mental health. Who knows? But yeah, so I shall pass on to Rajesh.
Yeah, I just want to tee off from what Kim said. I think we really want our HR professionals to be spending time with people, providing that empathy, providing that support. So I'll just give you an example of what a non-digital interaction looks like and what a digital interaction looks like. Imagine that you have a new employee who joins, right? And let's think post-pandemic. If a new employee comes up to an HR professional and they need to add them to the system, and very often you don't have to add them to one system. You got to add them to 7 systems, and you got to request their laptop, and you got to get the security information. So you can imagine an HR person who is just kind of heads down after taking your information, your first name, your last name, your date of birth, whatever, putting it into 7 different systems, not even talking to that new employee in some sense. What automation and what a bot can let you do is allows you to put that information in one place, and then the bot goes off to the different systems, requests the laptop, requests the security badge, does everything, while the HR professional is really having the conversation you want them to have with this employee, which is to make sure they're ready to come back to work, ready to make sure that they are, they got everything that they need, they feel comfortable, they've got a buddy at work who's going to help them on board. So that's really the motivation here. The motivation is to, let people, whether it's HR, it's anybody on the front line, it's a salesperson, it's a customer success person, really deal at a human level, because that's exactly what bots can't do. Kim, I do love your idea, though. I think I'm going to create the shrink bot. I think it's a line of business I need to go into, because if people are going to be more comfortable, telling their stories to bots, that might be something to do.
That sounds amazing. We'll pick up this questions about bots and how they'll change the way we work in the next episode. So thank you very much, Rajesh, and thank you very much, Kim.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So that's all for today, and thank you again so much to Raj and Kim for joining us on the pod. And you can check out boxxe.com, and you can find out a bonus clip from the podcast or chat with Raj and Kim. We will rejoin them next time when we ask, will bots change the way we think about work? Want to learn more about the modern workforce? Go to boxxe.com/modernwork to find out more, or even book a consultation with one of our workforce specialists. And as always, I'll see you next time.